Hi, hello friends. Welcome back to Night Court Narrative. Today we are discussing Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. This is the second book in the Into Darkness series. I believe there is a third one coming soon, but more information on that hopefully comes soon, because I know I'm kind of in the dark about it. But no, this book, I do believe I have a very unpopular opinion about it, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of keyboard warriors here. But I do believe that Caught Up was a lot better than Lights Out was. In my personal opinion, Lights Out was a very underdeveloped book that used comedy to kind of cover up the fact that there was no plot. However, Caught Up did feel a little bit more like a developed dark romance, which I did end up liking. I liked the characters, I liked the plot. I do think there are a lot of things that could have been better, but I don't think it's to the extent of what everyone is letting on. I also don't understand the whole debacle with the narrators for the audiobook, because I mean, Eddie Hamilton is quite literally one of the best narrators, and everyone knows that, to the point of like he's in almost every single book now. But I can talk about that later because I clearly have things to say about that. But either way, hi, hello, I am Elvish. I hope you guys are doing very well today. But yeah, so we're discussing Caught Up today, like I said, by Nevessa Allen. We follow our two main characters. We have Lauren and Nico, aka Junior. The story does follow their reunion 10 years after their teenage relationship ended due to, let's just say, quote-unquote, betrayal. Lauren is a woman who is transformed from a very shy girl to a sexually empowered individual, as she is a SMEX worker now, while Junior is still a mafia enforcer, unfortunately under his father. And yeah, their reunion sparks a lot of, tension, trust, healing, all that good stuff. But Lauren, she is depicted as a dynamic character who reclaims her sexuality and story from shame. She is no longer the shy girl that Junior remembers from high school. She now is a strong, very independent woman who owns her choices, including her work, as I mentioned, as a SMEX worker, and her exploration of kink at a play club. And of course, we'll get into that in a moment. And then we have Junior. He is a mafia enforcer. He is the eldest son in his family, burdened by the violence and his father's expectations. He is both a protector and a perpetrator, torn between his love for Lauren and his loyalty to his family and criminal legacy. He's portrayed as a man marked by trauma, guilt, and the desire for ultimate escape. His obsession with Lauren is both dangerous and potentially redemptive. He evolves throughout the novel from a numb enforcer to someone willing to fight and have genuine connection, breaking the cycles of his family's violence and shame. And I absolutely loved that. I really do think that this book was very well rounded as far as characters, plot, and just development as a whole goes. I did enjoy all of it. With that being said, as I mentioned, there are things that could have been better. But starting off, there's really not much to, like, as a summary, there's really not much. Junior, aka Nico, whatever, he comes back into the picture. We do see that he is subscribed to Lauren's only cans type thing, and obviously she's unaware of this, so he pays quite a bit of money to get personalized videos and whatnot from her, and she's enjoying it. She does say that fan, if you will, is her best, not knowing that it is Nico. But eventually they do end up figuring out who each other are. He practically stalks her the entire time, has tracking devices on her phone, on her car. I don't actually think there's one on her phone, to be real. I think it was just her car. but he follows her around. Like, she is interested in this like bad boy motorcycle guy, not knowing it's Nico the entire time. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. And there is this play club, as I mentioned before. They like to, by they I mean Lauren and her two friends, her two roommates. They like to go to this club. It is a place to explore everything sexuality and everything, yeah. Even a part where they watch a couple do the deed on stage, and it's supposed to be a very empowering moment, and to the main characters it very much is, but it goes from, you know, being a very shameful job, something that you kind of have to hide, to being something that she's proud of because Nico allows her to explore that side of her, and he doesn't put a stop to it, even though, you know, to be real with you, I don't actually think Nico minds. Because he even said in the book at some point, he was like, I don't really care what they do in the day because I have her at night, you know? So he doesn't really mind. And I know she said it multiple times that, you know, I think he's ashamed of me, or I think he's trying to hide me. But then that was never the case. He did everything he could to always lift her on the pedestal that he put her on and make sure that everyone knew that she was the best version of herself, no matter what her job was. And it took her a long time to get past that insecurity, if you will, to be able to see like, hey, this guy that I'm falling in love with is supporting me. I need to now support myself. And it was very nice. It was very good to see that, because I mean, you don't get too many books where they have support on both sides. So I really did enjoy that. Now, this book was, like I said, better than Lights Out for me personally. However, it was perfect until it wasn't. And oh my heavens. So I don't think, for me personally, I don't think this book was ever going to be a 5-star. I don't think it's good enough for that. Not good enough. Okay, that sounded mean. I didn't mean that as in like the author can't write 5 stars. No, I just mean like, for me personally, I mean, if you've seen my other videos, you guys know that I have this checklist, I guess, where I have to check the boxes. Not an actual checklist, obviously, but like I have to check the boxes on either like character development, plot, world building, you know? And if every box is checked, then that's a 5-star. And if there's one missing, then it goes down and whatever. I don't think this book was ever a 5-star. There were a few things lacking in my personal opinion, but it wasn't so much so to where it was like a 4-star. So I was definitely happy to give it the 4.5-star that I did rate it. But at the very end of the book, there was, and I'll go over this in 2 seconds, but there was a thing that popped up that ended up happening that completely turned me off from the book. And I mean completely turned me off. It was like flipping off the light switch, and I had to, because I was listening to the audiobook at the time, I had to physically pause the book. I looked down, there were like 3 chapters left to the end, and I had a whole ass conversation basically in my head on whether or not I was going to DNF this book. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't want to DNF because we have 3 chapters left. But it was so triggering to my brain hole to the point where I was so fucking infuriated. And I have a whole entire notepad on my phone of just like, I was spitting nonsense because of how mad I was. And I will pull that up right now. But there was a moment in the book where Lauren, I guess, decides to be a decent human being, and she goes to visit her cunty sister. And, you know, her sister, I didn't like her at all from the moment that she came into the book. She was very, I mean, cunty is the right word. She was very mean just to be mean. She didn't really have any rhyme or reason to her meanness. she just basically blamed it on her pregnancy. But from the way that the dynamic between the two sisters seemed, it seemed like that's just how she was. She was just that type of person. And then even when Nico mentioned her sister, I think a chapter or two later, he even said the exact same thing, like, oh, well, she's still the same person as she was back in high school. So she's literally just a mean girl because she can be. And I did not enjoy that at all. But they were talking, both sisters, they were talking, and the sister brings up the fact that, oh yeah, I think it was the fact that Nico, quote unquote, killed their father. Mind you, that was not true at all whatsoever. So the sister was like, oh yeah, like, I'm so glad you weren't with that fucking loser anymore, because yeah, he was just scum, and yeah, he's the reason our dad is dead and shit. And like, it was so left field and uncalled for. And get this, right? Come in closer. Get this. Lauren, oh, I'm like, my blood is boiling. Lauren takes everything she said and rolls with it. Absolutely fucking rolls with it. Goes, breaks into his fucking house, tases him as soon as he comes in. Doesn't even do a hi, how are you, sit down, fuck you, we need to talk, whatever. And then eventually says, I don't know what you've done. That's an actual quote, by the way. I don't know what you've done. But then continuously tells him everything he did wrong, fights him physically, like there's physical altercations, tases him without allowing him to actually speak. And then, like, it literally made me start genuinely, like, hating that generic ass you lied trope when the main character has given no reason for them to actually react that way. It's giving very annoying and repetitive, kind of like, I don't know what to put here, like I'm running out of story plot. Does that make sense? And it disrupted the complete flow of the book and made me like semi-hate it at the end, because like I said, this book wasn't going to be a 5-star, but I would have probably given it a 5-star if this whole chapter was never even written. And then she proceeds to say, and I have actual quotes here, then she proceeds to say, I don't want to hear anything else you have to say. Mind you, she hasn't even given him a single chance. Like, he hasn't said a single word this entire time. Has not given him a chance to respond, to fight back, to plead his case, whatever. And then she says, I trusted the wrong man again. Bitch. But like, literally nothing fucking happened. You take something your cunty sister says rather than allowing him to actually tell the truth. Like, you're literally taking someone else's word as golden and as like God's word when you're at the source and you're not even allowing him to plead his case. Whatever. And then she then proceeds to say, the truth, Nico, it's the least you owe me. No, bitch. First of all, he owes you absolutely nothing. He has done nothing wrong. Absolutely. He's done nothing wrong. If you read the book, he has done nothing wrong. And then proceeds to say, you really hurt me. No, bitch. You tased him. You constantly go back on your word. I'm gonna trust you. I don't trust you. I'm gonna trust you. I don't trust you. You're a great guy. Get out of my face. Tase, tase, tase. Like, oh. She allowed her sister to literally fill her head with this false narrative and use that to blame someone that literally did not deserve the hatred. And oh, my blood is fucking boiling right now. And then like a chapter or two later, I think it was like one chapter later, everything, makeup, whatever they made up, yeah, fine, whatever, okay, cool, we got that, okay, cool. She then proceeds to say the very final thing that made me want to punch the goddamn air. She says, I forgive you for the other day, though. Sis, you tased him for literally nothing. You should be the one asking for forgiveness. You shouldn't be like, oh, well, I forgive you, and I'm still mad at you. You broke into my house. You tased me. You started physically fighting me. You were yelling at me. But I'm the one that had to ask for forgiveness? Nah, bitch. Oh my god, like, literally, sit the fuck down, please. Okay, so, like, that ruined the book. Once I heard that entire chapter, I had to contemplate my life. However, once I heard that final thing of, I forgive you, by the way, I quite literally had to pause the book and think on whether or not I was going to read the next 2 to 3 chapters to actually finish the book. There's only 36 chapters. This is maybe, don't quote me, this is like chapter 32, 33 that everything is happening, and I'm just like, why? Like, what purpose did this do? Like, what purpose did this just, like, I can't even word right now. I can't even fathom the English language. What purpose did that serve? Like, literally. And, like, there's a thing, like, I said it earlier, and I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to, like, beat a dead horse and be repetitive, but ultimately, if you are writing a book and you come to a dead end to where you ultimately just do not know what else to write about, maybe, now hear me out, maybe you should wait a little bit longer to think about a better ending to then add that in, or hear me out, remove all of this unnecessary filler in your book so that you can end the book sooner. Because I would have much rather had, let's say, a 25 chapter book than a 36 chapter book that almost made me DNF at the end, right? And there are plenty of books that are 20 chapters, 25 chapters that have been 10-star ratings. It is doable, but sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is what Navessa Allen did, but sometimes authors attempt to take it a little bit too far because they want to get as much content out as humanly possible, but it's not ideal for every situation. And literally doing that whole, well, this is what he did because I said so. It's not actually true, but he did it because, yeah, I said so. And then, like, not allowing him to actually fight his own case, that shit literally ruined it. You literally spent the entire book, right? You spent the entire book working on Lauren's character development. You have allowed her to develop herself into a very, as I mentioned originally, very strong and very independent woman. Why on earth, in one chapter, in the span of one chapter, why on earth are you going to make her take 2 steps forward and 1,000 steps back? Why? Because at that point, what was the whole point of the book? Because you wanted to sit here and you wanted to write on how amazing and strong this woman was and how she can get through anything, but then you write her literally, as I just said, taking 1,000 steps back as if nothing ever happened. There was no progression, no anything. And that is the dumbest shit I have ever seen and read in my entire life. That was the dumbest shit I have ever seen or read in my entire life. However, I will give the book the benefit of the doubt. The last 2 chapters were good. It did save it, but please don't do that. Please don't be that person. Going off of this too, the spice in this book, it was very mediocre. It was very bland. It was very vanilla. I do believe the Into Darkness series is supposed to be dark romance. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. Is it a dark rom-com? Maybe. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but if this is a dark romance and or a dark rom-com, the spice is not very dark romance, and like I don't need like weapons and shit like that, but it was very just boring. It was very boring. It kind of left you with the, okay, now when is this gonna get good? You know what I mean? And the spice just wasn't that great. I did, however, like the Play Club. I actually really liked the concept behind it. I loved the empowerment behind it. Me personally, I don't think I would be able to watch people on stage personally, but I do like the concept of it. I feel like that was really interesting, and I was unaware that things like this actually exist, and I'm pretty sure that things like this actually exist in the world, probably in California. I feel like California has everything, but I was very interested in that, and I feel like, I know this might sound stupid, but I feel like that's definitely something to look into and to learn, um, because that is something that people, you know, really cherish. And I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was interesting. It's definitely something in a book that I'm gonna remember for a while. So that one was very memorable. Um, I'm still very, very interested in it. I'm curious on how this whole thing works. And I know in a book you can't get all of the information, but I am very curious on how everything works there. But yeah, this book was really good. There was less comedic relief than Lights Out. This one was more so, if Lights Out was the comic relief, this one was more of like the serious tone, which is perfectly fine. It worked very well with what it had in the book, but it was good. As I mentioned, I did give this book a 4.5-star rating. I think it was, ignoring the whole rant I just did and ignoring the ending, I do think this was a very well developed book, and I do think that given what it is, with the lack of certain aspects, I do think it is very, very well written. If it had a little bit more here and there, it would have easily been a 5-star. So I do appreciate this book a lot. The thing I did have to say, I know this is nothing about, I mean, it's kind of about the book, but I think the final thing I wanted to say, I feel like I'm gonna get so canceled for this, but I feel like cancel culture needs to just take a step back and just chill the fuck out. Or if not cancel culture, I think book talk just needs to take a step back and literally just chill the fuck out. Because when the audiobook was announced that it was Teddy Hamilton as Nico, everyone, and I mean all of book talk, blew the fuck up because they were so mad. They wanted the original narrator back, but the thing that people, I guess, are unable to comprehend, the original narrator narrated a completely different guy. This is a different guy. This is a different family. Well, I mean, it's the same family because it's his fiance's cousin, but it's still a different family. It's not even like his brother or anything. It's not even him. It's a completely different character. And it's like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Teddy Hamilton is a very well-known and very respected narrator, and he does a very good job. He takes pride, or I mean, at least you can tell he takes pride in every single character that he narrates, and he does a very, very good job at it. So the fact that you just didn't get the original narrator and you're over here negative review bombing and shit talking and making bad videos on TikTok and then harassing the author, bro, come on. There are so many more like serious things in life. Like, there are people dying out there, and having someone narrate a book is the top of your priorities. Really, guys? Really? That is, you know, please forgive, but that is fucking pathetic. Y'all need to chill the fuck out. Stop harassing authors just because they don't do something that you like. Stop. It's like, stop. But with that being said, that is Caught Up by Navessa Allen. I am curious on what the next book is going to look like because Lights Out is blue, Caught Up is red. So I'm having a feeling, I don't know why, but my gut feeling the next one is either going to be yellow or green. And I don't think there's a book cover or even a name yet for it. Or there might be, but I haven't personally seen anything. So I don't know. But that was Caught Up. If you guys loved this book or hated this book, let me know in the comments. Yeah. I hope everyone has a very wonderful day. Please go get some water, go get some snacks. Please remember that self-care is very, very important. And I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.